Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yeah, nothing too special for us myself this week. Um, let's see,
What'd you do on Memorial Day?
Memorial Day. I actually worked. I came into the office.
Yeah,
Um,
that's great. Me too.
yeah, not to work out and
I launched that. So
yeah, okay, awesome.
it
Yeah,
was,
so
it was
I'm
fun.
glad I'm not the only one that was working on
I
Memorial Day.
yeah.
I
Um,
to the point, I got to the point when before Memorial Day hit, I was like, another holiday. I don't know about you, but some holidays I just hate. I love the big ones.
the big
Um,
ones, Christmas,
Christmas, my
Thanksgiving.
birthday is a holiday. I don't care what
It's
anybody says. Christmas,
a family
birthday,
holiday.
Mother's Day, which is not an official bank holiday, but Father's Day, which is also these are on Sundays, so they're not really holidays, right? But bank holidays, I really don't like bank holidays.
Bank
Um,
holidays is.
sucks.
Can you give another example of a bank holiday?
Labor Day,
Oh yeah, who gives
Memorial
who gives
Day.
an F about Labor Day?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like
Labor
just
Day is for labor. Let's do more labor. Let's work
President's
more.
Day. I don't even think businesses were closed on President's Day, but you know what's closed on President's Day? The banks were.
The banks.
The
The
banks
banks.
were closed.
You know,
Yeah.
maybe
So
it's a conspiracy. All these bank holidays are bankers pushing for these holidays while everybody else works.
yeah, bankers are pushing, I mean, the banks are pushing to be closed and give themselves a break on these days, which businesses can stay open, but banks, like, I mean, money's not getting moved around, money's not being transferred. And I mean, that could hinder business. It shouldn't stop your operations, obviously, but it definitely hinders certain operations, and it's
It's only
growing.
it's only on special occasions that banks close, like for example, the death of J.P. Morgan. Wall
Yeah.
Street Wall Street didn't open for 4 hours in remembrance of the great financier J.P. Morgan. Uh,
Wow.
but they didn't even take the whole day off.
They definitely didn't take the whole day off. That's
JP,
it.
he would have wanted us to work.
They would have wanted us to work like straight up. But honestly though, so that's crazy, So speaking of finance though, today I want to get into a topic that I think I sent this over to you, Jerry, but that is super, super near and dear and super important for a lot of businesses. I think it's one of the most important things for most businesses, which is your team culture. Now, how do we build a winning team culture? What is a winning team
You're
culture?
so right. You're so right. And how do you build a team culture yourself, Richard? Because you have a family. Obviously, there's family culture there, and then you go to work, and there's work culture there too. So,
Yeah,
what would you say are your top recommendations to building a strong winning culture?
I would say so. For me, first I want to start off by talking about for me what a team culture is. So for me, team culture is values that the team lives by, your organization lives by. Some people call it the spirit, the soul of your organization, for lack of a better term, right? So, what is when someone see your organization, what comes to mind? Is it an image, or is it a certain particular feeling they get? Now, for me, I think identifying that for one, what you want that to be, is the first step in building an awesome team culture, right? Identify, do you want it? So somebody to think about a particular image to represent you and your brand, or do you want somebody to feel, or the consumer to feel a particular feeling when they think about you and your brand? For example, Best Buy. People think about Best Buy. I don't know what you think, Jared, but immediately what comes to my mind is not an image. It's a type of service. See, each steel team culture is different. Best Buy is Geek Squad. I think a lot of people think about Geek Squad, right? When they hear Best Buy. So yes, technology, but so is Circuit City. So it's all these other, technologically based organizations. But what did Best Buy have above all of that is Geek Squad. So for me, it's this I want particular values to be remembered when people think about our organization: honesty, integrity, and just downright caring about your circumstance. And I think at least what my clients say is knowledge, being clear is kind of part of our culture. I guess that kind of just slipped its way in there. I never it came started doing meetings with intention to be clear and said this is going to be our core value. It's just how I explain things. I want to make sure you understand. So a lot of our clients, you read all of our reviews, but one of the most common themes you will see is, oh, explain things so well, so clear, so knowledgeable, so this, so that about the product, and I've never understood insurance until this person talked to me, till so and so talked. So I think that plays a big part to how your clients does. Your team will see that, especially when you're training them. You'll see that, and that will become a part of the culture. So I think just being the same, in every meeting, in every interaction, whether it be at home, whether it be with your team, whether it be wherever, keep that same core value. That will inherently become a part of your team culture. So how you build a team culture for us, has to start with yourself. Build a good
Oh,
person.
right. I love
And then you'll build a good team culture. It starts at home.
Yeah, it does start with yourself because no one's gonna want to follow a leader who 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 is not fully in, who's not fully bought in, who doesn't embody like the ideals that you want the company to have, you know. So it really does start with the leader, you know.
Mhm.
How hard is the leader working? If you see Elon Musk working real hard, sleeping on the factory floor, working like 80 to 100 hours a week, you know, what does that say to the other Tesla employees that are working 40 to 60 hours? They're like, oh, wow, if the boss is working that hard, because he's
Mhm.
trying to get humanity to Mars, what excuse do I have? You know,
Mhm.
so it does start with the leader, and building a winning culture a lot of times is uh, is also has to do with like the people that you bring in, because for example, in the beginning stages of Google, for example, when Google first started and they were still, kind of neck to neck with Yahoo, and they started serving ads, they I think it was one of the founders. In software companies, you have a bulletin board. You have tasks. You have a Scrum board. You know, and on the board, one of the founders put, "Oh, Google Ads suck." You know, and somebody from the software team, got the post-it note, worked on it for a full day, and then created AdWords, the most profitable thing in the company. you know but no one sat down and said, hey, you know we need to come up with a plan to serve up better ads to our customers. No, they
Mhm.
just did it, because
Right.
that was the culture. The winning culture was of doing. you know
Mhm.
so a lot of times the culture is top down. And it starts with the leader. It starts with the leadership. If you don't have good culture, coming from the top, then you can't expect, the entire bottom to make up for the lack of effort, lack of work ethic, lack of winning attitude, to save the company. No, it starts from the top.
Yeah, I mean, expected or not,
Uh,
whether you expect it or not, it's not going to happen. Like, whatever the top, whatever you as a leader, re, re- reflect and out there, that's what your team also will do the same. It's just that's from many years of leading, the organization that's the training agents and things like that with an agency. That's what I've seen. They're gonna do what we used to say. They do 80% of what you do right and 100% of what you do wrong. You know,
culture can also turn sour too.
right.
So, in an example, you can have a winning culture at one point, but then, something happens where, let's say you're the leader, and let's say there's criticism, there's negativity, from the leader or from the management, you know, then the people below them are going to be afraid to speak up, afraid to take risks, and afraid to move fast, and that propagates. habits, So, it really does like start from the top, and bad culture can spread even if, even if it starts like it's something that you have to continually maintain. You don't get to one point and say, hey, we have good culture forever. No,
Yeah.
we're
That's
done
it.
working
That's
on
it.
culture because we've mastered it. That's when you start sliding. It's like the goal of marriage is like to stay married, right? Like it's not like, okay, we're married, we're done with, that led up to the marriage.
I don't have to take you on no more dates.
No more dates, exactly. No more dates, no more gifts,
You're
no
not gonna
more
stay married
compliments.
for very long.
That's it. If you want to
Exactly.
continue having good culture, if you want to continue having a good marriage, you have to continually show up
Yeah, yeah,
for
absolutely.
yourself, for your team, for your clients, for your customers.
Yeah, agreed. And I mean, on that note, talking about that culture can turn sour or negatively. Can you share a moment where the company culture made a real difference for you, whether it be positive or negative?
Oh, yes, yes. So back in Colorado Springs, where we first met, Richard, uh,
Hmm.
I was running a kiosk business. I don't know if you remember that, but
Hmm.
uh, you know, uh, we had a good sales culture. Every So, for example, it was a sales kiosk. We'd sell a tens unit product and had different locations in
Hmm.
Colorado. And the person that got the first sale of the day, that was called a siftach. Siftach is
Okay.
the first sale. And all the employees,
Okay.
they'd be really excited to get their first siftach. And whoever got their first siftach would get a nice little bonus, like a cool extra $20 of their commission. You know,
Right.
Everybody would be scrambling to get their first siftach. The thing is, once you get your first sale, it's easier to get your next sale, and then your
Right.
next, and then
Right.
right. So it creates a strong culture of sales, competition, and the business makes money, the salespeople make money, and it creates a great culture, a great environment, and that's an example of a strong sales culture. But the opposite can happen too. So, if we open the kiosk at 8 a.m., and the company doesn't see a sale till 1 p.m., what ends up happening? The team gets demoralized. It's very, like they easily slide into a rut. And so sometimes we would open up a brand new location, untested, and they wouldn't perform. Like no sales, no sales in the day. It's a catastrophe for the morality of the team. So me and Stephanie, my business partner, we'd come in, like, hey, what's going on? And they would always complain about the location. Oh, it's the location. Oh, this is a bad spot. It's a bad
Hmm.
place. The military hasn't gotten paid. All the excuses under the sun. And so I knew in order to get them out of this rut, we had to show them what was possible. So me and Stephanie, we'd go in to this terrible location, quote unquote, and we'd crush it. We'd sell $1,000. We'd sell $2,000 in a day. And then we'd show the employees, look, this is easy. There's so much money here. All the people here have money, and you have to instill that in salespeople. Otherwise, they would get too much in their head because they'd face rejection all day, every day, because they're working from
Hmm.
kiosk. It's very difficult. Sales is one of the most difficult sales jobs.
Right.
So by showing them that, hey, look, I just made a $300 sale, look how easy it was. You can do it too. That commission could have been yours if you had been in the right mindset, get out of your own head and do your best because everybody here has money and you can do it. And I'd always talk to them about what their goals are in the past. And so I'd bring that up, I'd have the one-on-ones with my team. So I know what they're
Hmm.
good for. I know what their North Star was. So I'd bring that up. Hey, didn't you say you wanted to buy a house for your kid? This is ground zero. This is where it starts. You can fight for that right now. All you have to do is call people, do great demonstrations, and follow the script. And you can do it too, just like me and Stephanie just did. And that would really, really help their morality. It would really help them feel that they can do it too. And so that's part of the winning culture, but again, it's a continuous thing. You can't just, reach a point and then end it. It's a continual effort, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you give an example for as well in insurance?
Yeah, so for us, the same thing back in Denver, Colorado this time though.
Let's go,
Back in
Colorado.
Denver,
Shout out.
Colorado, where our insurance agency was not independent at the time. We still was operating agency, just under umbrella or captive company. So there, I mean, positively, one of the things I remember the most, and it still affects me to this day, much like your seatbelt. We had incentives for our agents. I think incentives are really, really, really cool a way of getting agents to or your team to perform. So we had, I remember it was maybe a month-long competition to go to a baseball game. Right, I had already bought the tickets, and any whoever gets the top three sales people will top three closed deals will go to the baseball game. If you're out of town, we may help you get your ticket, but I've already got the ticket, so you got to pay for most of that plane ticket to come in. And depending on where you are, I might help you, right? Um, and if not, you can take a different prize and we can give the ticket to someone else. So everyone knew there was some of the team was out of town. They probably was not gonna come in come in for it. So they knew, okay, I have more than just three chance of getting this, right? But I remember that we sold the most amount of insurance that month, those 2 months, even after, because the thing, they went to the baseball game and they had such a good time. They're like, oh man, now they're on cloud nine. And afterwards, we closed more deals than when we was going to the game. So now they were recharged, refreshed, I guess. I don't know but the adrenaline and just that reward was there. And afterwards, we closed even more deals. Um, and that had a huge, huge positive impact on the team because it instilled a lot of loyalty at that point. Like a lot of people wanted to possibly leave the organization, but just because I was there, um, they and what I was doing, they want to stay. And on the flip side, the negative thing that was impacting the organization was my management, was upper management for me. And yes, they was in a higher position than me at the time, but all that negative energy, you can't do this if you're not the I think speaking from a negative standpoint is not great for team culture. And what I mean by that is you want every organization wants someone to work and do more and be more productive. You telling someone if they don't be more productive, they're not going to reach their goal, to me, is not positive and it's not going to breed a direct result. But if you be more productive, you're going to reach your goal. That's a whole different take. Does that make sense? Like, okay, if you show up 6 o'clock in the morning, that's a little bit much. But if you get up 6 o'clock in the morning, start working out, and by 8 o'clock you're starting to work, and you close three deals a day, I guarantee you in 2 years you're driving that Ferrari that you want to drive. Right? If you tell somebody that, that'll pump them up. But if you look at them and say, "Oh, you want to drive a Ferrari, but you're not getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning and you're not closing three deals a day," that Ferrari is just a pipe dream. You're not going to drive that in next. I feel like that's more demotivating than motivational, right? I'm
Yeah.
not saying some people it won't, but the majority of people you're going to miss with that type of motivation. I'm not saying you're not going to catch some people. Some people that has the ambition, that have the drive anyways, those are people that don't need your motivation. So they hear that, they're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, I want that Ferrari,"
Yeah.
or whatever is motivating them. But they didn't really need it to begin with. The people that actually need it, you can't motivate them with negativity, if that makes sense. You have to do positive reinforcement, and there was a lot of that was affecting the culture, which made the organization a revolving door. So I know I
Yeah.
went off on a tangent, but I just wanted to share
It's a good
two
one.
different sides to the positive and the negative.
Yeah. I found that you can't persuade somebody to work hard if they don't want to work hard, So a lot of times it does start with hiring too. Um,
Yes.
Also,
Yeah.
what you had mentioned about like uh, talking to them and reinforcing, it reminds me of the story about Sam Ovens. He talked about people are more motivated by loss than they are for gain. So he talked about you know getting his best salesperson a Ferrari. So there's two ways he can reward somebody with a Ferrari. You know, if you hit, let's say 10,000 in sales in the month, you're gonna get to drive around in the company. That's one option, but the better option is actually to give them the Ferrari and then say, if you don't hit 10,000 sales every single month, we're going to take away the Ferrari. So people are more motivated by loss than they are from gain. That salesman will dance to
But
that
is,
Ferrari.
is,
You
is
know,
that motivation or is that anxiety?
no, that's motivation. I'm gonna lose. I'm gonna lose this. It like people start putting in an effort in their relationship. Let's say, for example, if they know that their relationship is going downhill, if they might lose their relationship, they put in more effort. People put in more effort when they're about to lose something. So it's the same thing with salespeople. So think about how you can do that with your salespeople. What can you give them that's free or cheap, that if you take it away, it's going to hurt them, and they need that. They don't want it taken away, and it's going to keep their performance at an all-time high. No one's going to want to lose the ability to drive around their Ferrari because they couldn't make their sales. You know, their status becomes attached to this thing. So they have to maintain a high salesmanship. So that the best way is to people are more motivated by loss. So what can you engineer in the business that would be a loss for the client, for the employee, if their performance dips.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that is interesting. I think like you said, there's two styles of motivation, and it's important to realize what works best for your organization, and utilize. Um, you know, there's Hitler would say people are motivated by fear too, and which they
Fear
are.
and loss. Yeah, people are
They are.
motivated by fear and loss.
Fear is a part of loss. Fear is a part of
Missing out too.
loss. So you possibly losing something, that fear it could be used as motivation. And whether healthy or not healthy, there's a healthy dose of fear out there. Now, there's also the desire to get what you've never been able to get before, to live that life that you've never been able to live. That gain, that is just whatever whoever, like you said, it starts with hiring. Whoever you're hiring into your organization, you must realize who you're hiring and how to motivate them. That's the hard part as a leader, is not one style of motivation actually works for everyone. And but you will also inherently, as a leader, I feel like you do hire based on the style of motivation that works for you, that you're most comfortable with. So if you're comfortable with that positive reinforcement, like myself, I could say I love positive reinforcement, as in I will talk about what you stand to gain from this, just because I don't like to talk about what you stand to lose, because it doesn't work for me, if that makes sense, right? It doesn't work for me, so I don't talk about it. So I tend not to hire people that need that type of motivation, if that makes sense. I look at people with big aspirations that, oh, I want to do. I'm like, okay, you're my type of person because you told me all these things you want to do. Let me tell you what you got to do to get there. And every time we're at a stump in the road, we're going to talk about all the things that you told me before.
Yeah. Oh, didn't you say you wanted this?
Yeah,
With
yeah.
their current sales, you'll get to that. No.
Yeah. So in order for us to get to that, this is what you got to do. And then you'll go from there. So I think it's super important to one, hire based on you. All right, you don't hire people that's going to clash and not be a part of the culture of you. Like we said, it starts with you, right? So the people that you're hiring should be able to fit in the culture of you. If they're not meshing there, you're wasting your time. Just like if you can't sell to everybody. Some people are just not your prospect. Well, some people are just not your team members. Plain and simple, right? They could be your friend.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they can work with you.
Fire slow, fire fast.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so, foundation is, of course, another super important part of building a winning team culture. Um, what role does leadership play in shaping and maintaining that team culture? We know we said it starts from the top, but what foundational role do you think leadership played when it comes to setting that foundation?
Well, you set the tempo as the leader, right? If you're a slow leader, like if you have a low say and do, like if you say something and you don't do it, now your team picks up on it. If you're lazy with something, your team's gonna pick up on it. And they're gonna be like, well, if Jerry, took a week to finish this ad copy, like, and now he's asking me to do the ad copy, I guess I have a week to do it. Tons of time. Like, you set the example for your team in terms of the speed. In terms of the speed, in terms of the productivity, your team is going to emulate that. Like, oh, you know, boss is okay with it taking a week. I guess it'll take me a week
Mhm.
and it'll be fine. If the boss is like I learned from Alex Ramosi, whenever, oh, even Donald Trump, I saw him do it recently. He's like, asking, okay, and how long do you think that'll take? uh, when you're telling things to your team like, oh, okay, so we need 10 emails, for this new Facebook campaign.
Mhm.
Okay, great. I'll take care of it, Jerry. Okay, great. How long do you think that'll take you? So ask them to estimate like the length of time, and then they'll say, oh, I guess it can take me, 2 hours. Okay, can you do it? Can you have it done by today? Like pushing them to do it now and do it faster and hold them accountable. So if they say that it's going to take them 2 hours, then it's their chance to shine, right? They're going to be like, yeah, I can do it. But and Donald Trump did it too. Like the other day, I was watching a thing. He was signing some executive orders. He's like, they're talking about uh, uh, cutting the red tape and making it easier to start nuclear plants in the U.S. And oh yes, they were explaining to him the executive. They were, for the reporters, they were talking about it out loud. And then he's like, "Oh, how long do you think that'll take? By when do you think you'll have it?" What is that? He said, "Oh, it kind of caught him off guard." He's like, "We could have it tomorrow. Oh, can you have it done by today?" And he's like, yes, we'll have it done by today. It's like, he put him on the spot. He called him out, like, when do you think you'll have this? And then he pushed him for a better, outcome. So, you know, that was a good example of leadership, I thought. And, on Alex Ramosi and Donald Trump. So, I think it's good to implement that with your team too. Like if they say it's like Elon Musk says, if you tell yourself it's gonna take you a whole day to clean your house, then it's gonna take you a day. But if you say that it's gonna take you 2 hours, then it's gonna take you 2 hours.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, so set that goal for yourself and achieve that goal, and then go out there and do it because you just told everybody that you're going to do it, that you're going to do it in this 2 hour time period. So if you tell yourself you're going to clean your house in 2 hours, it's going to take you 2 hours. If you tell yourself
Right.
it's going to take you 1 hour, then it's going to take you 1 hour and you're going to work like crazy, and but it'll get done and it'll get done fast.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. I definitely agree. I mean, to share a story, I think, leading by example is the one of the only ways to lead. Honestly, I won't go and say the only way to lead, but one of the only ways.
Maybe it is the only way to lead.
Maybe it is the only way, right? Leading by example for me is the only way to lead. Let me say that. Leading by example for me is the only way to lead. I cannot say one thing and do another just because I see how, like you said, your team sees you, your family sees you, and I'm telling you, being a dad has taught me a lot of things. Being the leader of
What does,
a
what does it
household,
tell you? Can you give an
um,
example? I'm curious.
yeah, no, absolutely. So I remember, and my wife is gonna watch this and laugh, but I remember. So there's the thing: we have a rule in the house, right? No eating and drinking in the car. That's the rule. I don't care who you
Great
are.
rule. Great rule because you don't want your nice seats,
Yeah, no, no eating and drinking in the car, right? So that's a rule that I follow. That's a rule that my wife follows. It's a rule that everyone is supposed to follow. Now, of course, kids are gonna be kids. They're gonna try and break the rules, bend the rules, whatever the case may be. So every now and then we have to reinforce the rule. I see you opening a bottle in my What are you doing? I'm just trying to take a sit. No, no, no. That's not even supposed to be in the car, right? So, and I remember one time our oldest son, he was drinking, I think it was a Gatorade or something. And my brain is focused. A lot of my car rides, I'm thinking and coming up with plans of, just different strategies for business and things like that. And it's a lot of time spent thinking. So I was tuned out to what he was doing. And then I heard him smacking his lips. I'm like, why does it sound like he's eating or drinking? So I turn around, and sure enough, he's drinking again. I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you drinking in the car? And he's like, I was thirsty. And I'm like, we don't drink in the car. You know this. Oh, y'all have never told me that. No, teenagers. He's like,
You said eating, Dad.
this is said like almost every day. What you mean they've never told you that? Oh, so we spent a few moments talking about that, and then he brought up, well, mom drank in the car. I remember how he got to this, but mom drank smoothie in the car.
Uh-oh.
I don't
Yeah.
know. When me and mom was drinking smoothie in the car, she didn't say anything, right? So she couldn't say anything because she was drinking in the car at the same time as both. So both of y'all just took that moment to drink a smoothie in the car, right? I
See,
wasn't
they
there.
they can pick up on
Right,
hypocrisy.
right. So now he thinks it's licensed to drink in the car every single time because of that one moment. So you see where like that's leadership where a lot of that one moment you say no eating and drinking in the car, but we drank in the car that one time. I don't know when it's okay. You say don't lie to our clients, but you told that little white lie to our clients. I don't know. I can't tell them that, yeah, we're going to have this done in 2 hours when it really takes us 48 hours to do just to
Yeah.
close the deal. I don't know when it's okay to lie and when not to lie. So you make leading from examples, just being stern on those rules. There's times that I want to eat in the car that nobody was around. And I'm like, oh, if only I just eat these chips in the car, I can eat these chips on the way. And I remember I stopped and the Holy Spirit, God, saying, you're really going to eat those chips in the car when you tell everybody not to eat in the car? I'm like, but nobody's here. He's like, well, I can see you and you can see you.
And
So
then did you eat or not?
no, I was like, oh man, I was complaining. Man, God, like you gonna do me like that? So I got up and I walked over to
No
the
one's.
trash can and I ate the chips and I dumped the bag in the trash can. I got back in the car,
You are one strong-willed man.
Yeah, and I was sad. I was like, man, I can't even eat in the car by myself. That's sad because it's because I preach it so much and I get on everybody so much about it. It feels wrong to allow myself to do it when I am so strongly enforcing it with everybody else. So if you want to lead by example and you want to hold your team accountable, and don't be afraid to hold your team accountable every chance you get. And I promise you'll start looking at yourself and holding yourself accountable even when your team is not around.
Yeah,
That's
very admirable, I gotta say. That was a
yeah.
great story, Richard. Thank you.
Yeah,
You that
absolutely.
story. You hold yourself to a high standard, and you hold those around you to a high standard. That's the mark of a leader.
Yeah, I think it's important, and holding others to a high standard helps me hold myself to a higher standard. There's sometimes I think I falter, but the more I hold other people accountable and I'm like, oh no, that is not acceptable. Then when I get by myself and I want to give myself a break, it's harder to give myself a break because you're like, you're holding everybody to this high standard. Oh, look at Richard, gonna slip, and you're like, oh, okay, okay. I won't do it,
Love it, love it. Great story. Great story. Well,
Absolutely.
actually, that reminds me of going back to core values. I remember I spent some time working for a really big YouTube ad agency, adspend.com, and they had us memorize all of the core values of the company, and we'd get quizzed on it every week. Every week we'd get quizzed on all the core values. They'd be like, okay, well, what's the radical transparency core value. Oh, okay, great job. What's the extreme ownership core value? So,
Mhm.
and you'd get called at random, and if you didn't have the core value memorized, you'd look so bad in front of the entire team. Yeah. So that was great too, because uh, like for ad spend, were like, extreme ownership. Always take full responsibility for everything that happens to us. We never criticize, condemn, or complain. We either win or we learn, right? So like that's one of the core values. If you don't have that memorized, then are you really embodying that core value? If you're holding yourself to, if if the entire team agrees to memorize these core values, but you don't have it memorized, then doing the very best that you can? And they had a great system for maintaining these values. And so because they were so ingrained in us, like radical transparency, it was like we were upfront and honest with ourselves, our team, and our clients. We have nothing to hide, which makes us truly authentic. So, that was a core value. And because we memorized it so much, whenever we'd interact with clients, we'd always be honest. We'd always maintain high character, high moral character when we were dealing with our team, with our clients. We wouldn't lie, we'd be transparent. And that permeated throughout every interaction of the company. So, I have to give them a huge shout out because they led by example. First of all, great leader, and the values were really embodied by the entire team. So, you know, I think that's a great example of creating strong culture, strong values, and how that affects everything from top down. So, you know, big big compliment to them for
Yeah,
having such a great system for maintaining integrity
yeah,
throughout the entire company too. Like as soon as you start adding like 10 employees, 20 employees, creating a framework for managing, relationships with clients and team and work, it becomes like so many more connections that it
yeah.
becomes difficult to maintain a strong uh, culture of having a high say and a high do. Like if you say something, you're going to do it.
Right, right.
Maintaining strong integrity throughout the entire corporation is so important.
Yeah, yeah. No, actually, that's really important, which leads me to I mean, growth and adaptation is essential and super important for if any organizational success, right? For the success of your organization. What approach do you or have you ever taken to collecting feedback from your team on how the culture is doing, or any changes that needed to be made on team culture?
Okay, well, in sales for information marketing businesses, there's qualitative and quantitative reports that are done every single day. So at the end of every day, all employees in the company fill out a report. So qualitative is, well, how many dials did you do? How many meetings did you book? Right? Like numbers. And then qualitative is, well, on a scale of 1 to 10, how did you feel that day? Did you feel that you performed your best? Did you feel that you kept high integrity? Like so those are and we track those every day, and we we have one-on-ones with each employee, which at least once a month, I'd say, one-on-one. And we don't talk about work. We just, oh, how have you been doing? How do you feel? Do you feel like you're growing in your role? Like things like that. So I think that's a good way to have people. Um, that's a good way to kind of keep your pulse on your team, and make sure that they're feeling good and that performance stays high. Yeah, can you give an
Mhm.
example for yourself? Maybe that wasn't totally on point.
Yeah, I mean, so like you said, our reports, daily reports, we've actually stepped away from a lot of the daily reports. We'll do a accomplishment update. So as we do something, then we put it in the group chat. Everybody sees, oh, you just got booked another appointment. Like hey, I feel like we want to prioritize the results over the activity. Now we know the activity dictates the results. But again, the importance is the activity because I feel when you focus on the activity, now you're running an hourly paid organization, right? Meaning, you're working at Best Buy. Oh, as long as you come in and clock in and you pretend like you're sweeping, all we want you to do is to pretend like you're doing something. We don't actually need the aisles to be clean. You just need to pretend like you're cleaning them, right? No, I want I don't care what you're doing hour by hour and how many aisles you swept. I don't care how many aisles you swept. What does the aisle look like? Right? That would tell me if you swept them, if you straightened them out, if you cleaned them or not. What do they look like? Okay. Oh, the customer can walk down these aisles. Okay, yes, you've actually been doing your job. That's what.
If your job is to make sure that all the aisles are clean, then it doesn't help if, oh, I only did 2 aisles. Or, so it's good to also keep track of, oh, well, did you do it? And if so, how many did you do? Or if you were too busy, how many did you get to do? Oh, I did 10 out of 12. Oh,
Right. Yeah.
so,
So,
you know,
and the organization
no,
we came
not
from,
much.
they were heavy on dials. What? How many dials did you make? How many dials did you make? How many dials did you make? How many? And appointment sets and stuff. But again, people were focused on shoddy dials, just dial and down, down, right? And then when they would crack down on, oh, you have too many dials, and I feel like you having to address the issues in different stages. And I'm like, and then the issue starts all over again because the main issue is they don't want to work and they don't feel motivated to work. So now you're forcing them to dial. Okay, they're doing shoddy dials. Now you're telling them, okay, you don't have enough appointments to your dials. So now they're squeezing appointments out of people. And now
That are bad fits,
and
just because they want to reach their
right. So now with
appointment.
appointment goal, now you tell them, okay, the amount of appointments you have compared to the amount of people that show up to the appointment, that's too bad. The ratio is too off. So now your show ratio is too low. So let's work on your show ratio. Now you work on your show ratio. Now let's work on your close ratio. I'm like ratio after ratio. If you just tell these people what I care about is close deals. I don't care how many how many dollars you make. I really don't care. I care how many deals you close. Right. Now, if you're not closing deals, I will look at it and say, oh, well, you're not dialing enough. That tells you right there. I mean, that's the backbone.
The
And,
number
oh,
of dials, it's a leading indicator for appointments, like
right.
it's like you said, if you don't have enough appointments, you ask, oh, well, how many dials did you do? Oh, well, you didn't do enough dials. And if you did hit your appointment goal, oh, why did you, oh, how did you hit your goal this week? Oh, it's because I did 600 dials. Oh, that's what,
Yeah, yeah, no, that's great. Or you have some people like, actually, it's because I asked for this many referrals. I
oh,
only
yeah,
did
right.
$150 this
That's
week.
good.
I did way less dollars than I ever had to do. Like, oh, that's great. Because
That's great.
nobody
Yeah.
wants to do
Now
a
you're
bunch of
onto
dollars.
something. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
innovate. You're an innovator there.
yeah, no,
Six
absolutely.
referrals
So,
on every dial. That
yeah,
doubles the amount of possibilities.
if we can lower our doubt and increase our appointment, increase our sales, who doesn't want to do that? So I'm not gonna make you feel like dials, there's just people, come on, nobody likes dials, right? So there's people out there that don't want to do it. Now, at the end of the day, I'm gonna put the emphasis on closing the deals. So you're gonna figure out whatever way you can to close deals that are in line with our goals and ethics, right? Not trying to swindle people and just bad ethical practices. We're not doing that, right? But as long as everything is, we're still embodying the company culture and core values, and we're meeting our goals. I think though, that really helps the team. And how you get feedback from that is you also want to go to the team like one on one, like you're talking about, and speak to them and say, hey, how do you feel about our focus, what we're focused on right now? How do you feel about us taking that hard focus on closing deals? Oh, well, you guys are heavily focused on closing deals, but honestly, my closing deals is not a problem for me. It's just getting people in appointments, and okay, maybe we need to take a step back and focus on training. Still
Yeah.
stay focused on closing deals, but let's train on how to set appointments or how to get people in appointments. And you find those areas by finding out where your teammate is struggling with. I think the best approach as a leader is to go to your people and say,
Yeah.
What can I help you with?
Actually, one thing I want to touch on too is the meetings. So the best, so if you speak to a high performing sales team, they'll say that the best part of their day is the meetings. So it's the 1 hour meetings that you meet with your team, and when you jump on the call, you celebrate wins. First of all, you say, okay, let's share wins. Richard, share a win. Oh, I just closed a deal. Great job. Everybody shouts them up. Okay, someone else personal or professional win. Oh, I woke up at 4 a.m. to go to the gym. Huge win. Oh, I just got married. Oh, huge win, right? Like that creates a culture of, you want to share, you want to have wins to share.
Mhm.
So it becomes, oh, I better close deals so I can share it with my team and my coworkers. So that creates a great culture too of, I want to share my win with everybody, and it makes winning a part of the culture. Like, oh, I
Mhm.
have to
Mhm.
win so I could go on the daily meetings and share something fun and exciting. And if everybody's sharing their wins, there's so much energy in the room, and it's also a way to hold people accountable too, because let's say you don't have a win to share. You say, you might not have the win. You might share a personal win, and then you might say, I know I'm projecting 10 booked calls this week. I'm only at 6, but this is what I'm doing. I actually I was doing less dials in the beginning of the week, and I'm gonna increase my so you're holding people accountable by saying like, okay, well, you're not at your goal. What are you doing to achieve that goal? Not hitting your projections is okay. Not hitting your projections is okay, but not knowing why you're not hitting your projections is not okay. You have to know why and what you're doing wrong, what you're doing good. Like if you are ahead of your projections, you got to know why you're ahead. Oh, I actually started texting a lot more and started looking more. Okay, that's great. You know why. But if you don't know why, it's like, oh, I'm nowhere near my projections. I don't know why. That's a problem. you know. But if you say, like on those meetings, that's where culture gets created, especially
Mhm.
for digital companies. For digital companies, the meetings are the most important thing because that's where culture gets created. The culture isn't created when you're dialing. I mean, maybe that's part of it, but
You're
it
right.
actually happens on the Zoom calls with your teammates. So it's so important to have a really good meeting culture. So when you meet, you have your cameras on at all times. Two, you always have a win to share, either a personal win or a personal win or a professional win. And you have to know if you're ahead, why, and if you're behind, why. You have to know either of those two. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that creates a really strong sales culture for a digital team. And the same applies to in person. In person, when you're doing sales meetings, you want to share wins. You want everybody to have that status increase in the team. Like, oh, Richard got a 10K sale. Shout out. Huge shout out to Richard. Can you tell us what happened? And get the play-by-play. Everybody loves sharing all the details of their wins and successes. So again, that's a big part of creating a strong winning culture.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Um, which leads me to faith. How does your faith play a role in the culture that you're building now? And what role does your faith play in the culture you're building?
Let's see. I'd like some more time to think about it. Can we get an example from you, Richard?
Let's see. For me, I mean, faith plays a huge role in the culture we're building. I mean, of course, you got to operate legally, ethically.
Legally, ethically.
Yeah, I can't tell you, oh, you're not hired because you're not Christian. Like, no, that's not happening. But what I'll tell you beforehand is we are a heavy faith-based organization. You're not required by any means to pray with us, but we have prayer meetings. We pray together. If you have an issue, you want prayer, it is there. Like I'll pray, with if Lord, before we go into this meeting, bless our mouth that everything that we speak glorifies you and not ourselves, and things like that. So that is it's a huge, I mean, it's a part of our organization. We lead with our faith first to our clients. and also the Asians pick that up. Now, is that going to turn somebody's stomach? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not forcing my religion. I'm not trying to convert you. You could be Muslim, you could be Hindu, you could be whatever you want to be. I'm not trying to convert you, right? What I'm telling you is these are the values that we lead our organization with. And if you can respect them, that's great, right? If you can utilize them and live by these values as far as doing business, you don't have to, we're not asking you to pray with your clients. If it turns into a prayer meeting with you and your client, that's between you and the client, right? We're not asking you to pray with the clients. All we're asking you is, you know, to be honest. Do not lie to your clients. All we're asking you is to put the needs of others first. When these are the same values. So if you know where we're getting the values from, which is the Holy Bible, right? That's where we're getting our values from. Now, okay, you can know what the values mean to us and how to apply them in a situation with your clients. If you use them, you will go wrong, right? So when we say, you know, turn the other cheek, your clients are cussing you. That means you don't cuss the client.
Yeah,
Turn
no
the
one
other,
client doing that.
right? So
Nothing went wrong in the relationship if they're cussing.
right, but you have company cultures where people will do that and think it's okay. Even if it's not okay, they get the feeling that they will get away with this and get a slap on the wrist in the organization. You cuss a client out with my organization, you're getting fired immediately.
Yeah, that's unacceptable.
Right? So I don't care who you are and what the client said to you. They could have been talking about your mama, right? If you cannot control your emotions to not clap, then you're immature, emotionally immature, and I can't have a person that's emotionally immature working for me, right? And or organization. So I think those are really important. So when it comes, it does play a very important part in our organization and in my leadership style.
And I actually don't think there's anything wrong with, well, like, for example, I have clients that just serve Christian entrepreneurs. They only want to work with Christian entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So I think it's fine if you want to like only work with Christians as an example. Like there's Muslim organizations and there's Jewish businesses, that only work with Jews. Like I think it's fine if you only want to hire Christians. I don't think that's a problem. Maybe
Yeah,
just
I
don't
think
tell anybody.
legally you can't discriminate.
Maybe
You
like
can't you can't post, oh, this is Christian only organization. If you're not Christian, don't even apply.
aren't there like Hindu only organizations, right?
Nonprofit organizations, you can do that.
You
So
can do
nonprofit organizations, you can do, but when you are an organization for profit, there's a lot of legal guidelines that you have to go by, right? Because you're trying to make a profit.
most people, actually everybody has an in-group preference. Indians hire Indians, right? Jews hire Jews.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Christians hire Christians.
You just can't say it.
There's like a built-in, yeah, there's a built-in thing, but you just can't say it out loud.
Yeah, yeah. You can't say it and you can't blatantly show discrimination. You're
You
gonna
can't
find
blatantly
that
show that.
random white person working at the Jewish establishment. You're
Yeah,
gonna find that random black person working at the Jewish establishment,
I
right?
know.
The diversity
Because he's really
inclusion,
good at
right?
it.
But we know what they prefer. We know
Yeah.
what they prefer, who they prefer. That's all.
Obviously, obviously I prefer, Christians, right? But like, the most important thing I like I'll hire Muslims, Jews, it doesn't matter to me, right? Like if you can follow, if you do a great job, if you have a great character, and I don't care what religion you are, as long as you don't mind that, I'm Christian and that's strong belief, that's a core belief of mine and it's key to my identity and values. As long as that doesn't create a problem, I don't see a problem in bringing in people of other faiths. Actually, it's funny because like Christians are very open and accepting of other people, but I feel like other people will only kind of gravitate towards their in-group preference, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Jews will go out of their way to hire Jews and, for example, not charge interest on loans as an example, right?
Right.
And they do that for other Jews, right? But Christians, don't favor other Christians; they favor everybody equally. Like
Yeah.
Christians really spread the word, spread the love, and most other people do have Hindu preferences when they make their decisions, like hiring and such. But religion does play an important part for me in my leadership. Um, it's not overly present. I think in the past, I can't remember doing actually with a client who was very religious. We would pray. You know, be like we'd end a meeting with a short little prayer, and that was really awesome. And I really enjoyed that. I haven't implemented anything like that, but I think I see myself doing that in the future. We'll see. What about you, Richard? Do you do something like that?
Yeah, I mean, and I think, for our hiring preference, and repeat it before I answer, repeat the question.
Let me think about my question that I just asked. Do you incorporate prayer or things of that nature with your team?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So, we have prayer available in the mornings. Anyone that wants to pray before the day gets started, before I have a meeting, I said, listen, I'll tell them beforehand I'm about to pray. Whoever don't want to hear it can go somewhere else. Okay,
Mm.
and give me 2 minutes. And rarely have you ever heard anybody. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say, "I'm gonna step out." So, yeah, everybody accepts the prayer, move on. So I make sure I don't force my religion, my culture, but I'm very upfront. I talk about God a lot. I talk about the Bible a lot. Bible says. I had a instance where somebody was like, "Forget the Bible." I don't remember what I said. It was my team. It was someone else in my acquaintance circle, and it was just I don't remember what I said, but like I referenced the Bible a lot. So when I said the Bible said, my Bible is not your Bible. I had a guy at the barbershop said that to me too before. Like, my Bible is not, I don't read the same Bible, or something like that. He said, just to be funny. And I was like, oh, okay, well, it serves me well. It's the Bible that I read, and it's the Bible that the values that I pertain. So when I say that I'm not going to fight, I don't think it's right for you to just to want to fight everybody just because they hit you doesn't mean you punch everybody and knock them out. Because I think I don't need to fight anybody that's weaker than me. I already know I can beat you. There's no point. The person that I want to fight is possibly stronger than me because I don't know if I can beat you. Now I want to test my strength. That's the
Mm.
only reason why I would want to fight you, right? Um, but yeah, no, it's like, if it's not enough to kill you, I don't. That means it's not enough to punch you. That's the way I look at it. If I can't justify shooting you, then I can't justify punching you, right? So the
Very
way
well
we talked about it, and so I lead with that, knowing that everybody's not going to be accepting towards my religion, my preference, and it doesn't bother me one bit. So I do get bold and say, guys, let's pray. If you don't want to pray, it's okay, step out, or say you don't, and we can start somewhere else. But yeah, we pray every morning before we leave the house. I mean, prayer is a big part of our lives. And shout out to my wife. She's a big part of that, making sure we don't get out the door without praying as a family. Everybody
said.
that's leaving the house, we all hold hands and we pray right at the door, and then leave out, and invite God into everything that we do.
Beautiful. Well,
Awesome.
what do you think, Richard? I think
Yeah,
a great episode.
let's wrap it up, guys. As always, we definitely appreciate you listening and being a part of our journey, our podcast here. Like, share, subscribe. We will keep it going. It's been a great episode of The Foundation. Jerry, what you say to the people?
Have a blessed day, everybody, and post what you enjoyed about the podcast or and what you would like to see more of.
Absolutely. Be blessed, guys. Till next time. Love y'all.